Hey, hello everybody. How you doing? So happy to connect again with you guys to continue in this topic about the superpowers and how to develop our natural skills to the concept of optimal health. Today we're going to be talking about emotional health. I've been reading this book, Let Them, by Mel Robbins. Obviously, you guys know Mel Robbins. She's a fantastic author. And a little recapping what we have been doing so far in these conversations. Um, First, we started talking about my spiritual journey, different lessons that I learned. We're gonna continue that, and then we move towards the concept of superpowers. And basically, what we said for the purpose of these conversations, superpowers are the systematic development of our natural skills. And so we talk about a process to, number one, discover those skills, and then how do you start being aware of those natural skills, and then specific systematic ways to develop those skills so they can transform into superpowers. And we said that one of the biggest tools to transform those into superpowers is the concept of optimal health, which for the context of these conversations is the development of four main areas. Again, this is not a new concept, it has been going on for years. I just added another pillar in the concept. Is number one, physical health, number two, mental health, number three, emotional health, and number four, spiritual health. So you need to have at least 70% development on each one of those areas, so you can have a not only better life, but you can also develop your superpowers. And you can also combat things as generational poverty, depression, and all different things that you may have in your life. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, so I highly recommend you to contact your physician if you are feeling symptoms of depression or any type of medical condition. My approach is more holistic, but I truly believe that it can provide a better life for you if you do it systematically. It's almost like preventive medicine instead of reactive medicine. And so, continuing that realm, this time we're going to talk about emotional health, which is well known as emotional IQ. So I'm reading this book from Mel Robbins, Let Them, and it's a research-based approach to how to handle life. Obviously, Mel Robbins is amazing; she's the best. But it's one of the things that she said that was really interesting to me is that most adults are like 8-year-olds in a big body, because very few people in the world really learn how to handle, how to deal with emotions, because nobody taught them how to do it, and our parents didn't know how to do it. And so it's almost like that generational poverty cycle that you do your best, and you know what you know, so you transfer knowledge to your children, your family, the best way you could. But for the most part, that knowledge was not around emotional health. And what happened if you don't do this before 7 years of age, 6 years of age, most of your gaps are going to continue the same forever. And so then that's when you need therapy, that's when you need a lot of things to deal with your life and to deal with your issues. I'm not saying that if you systematically tackle them before 7, you're not going to have any gaps, but you're probably going to have way less than you have to deal with now. And so in that area, we're going to be talking about some of the emotional health routines that you can implement to improve your life and have a better handle of your emotions, which can have obviously an impact on your optimal health, which ultimately is going to improve the way that you approach your business, and the way that you deal with your family, and the way that you deal with yourself. And so these routines, as I said before, with the mental health routines, these are not optional. You have to schedule these so you can become systematic about it, and you can actually reach the goals. So emotional routines, emotional health is the bedrock of resilience and overall well-being. By incorporating daily routines that foster self-awareness and strengthen relationships, you can build a solid emotional foundation that sustains you through life's challenges. So going back to the book from Mel Robbins, Let Them, basically her methodology is pretty simple. When you have an emotion, when you have frustrations, you need to let those emotions flourish. And then you have to take control. That's what her system is. Let them, let me now react within my control and without affecting others. And the system sounds pretty simple, but it's actually very powerful. And so, because for the most part, the way that we grew up is by our parents making us suppress our emotions, because of environment, or because we thought that was the right way to handle it. Now, this is not an advocation for anarchy. This is an advocation for experiencing the emotions so you can take control. So the prime example you had is that if to a 5 or 6 year old you tell them you cannot eat candy at breakfast, the first time that you do this, probably that 5 or 6 year old is gonna have a tantrum, is gonna have a reaction, and that's okay. That frustration is normal, but you cannot try to suppress their emotions out. Now, that demonstration of frustration, etc., can be demonstrated in a particular setting, in a particular way, but that emotion has to flow to the individual. That's the approach that Reggio Emilia and Maria Montessori develop within the educational realm, right? But most adults don't know. And so, anyway, going back to the routines, the first one is acts of kindness. Engage in small acts of kindness each day, whether for others or yourself. So kindness can have a potential and a powerful impact on emotional health, because we start putting the needs of others above ours, and so we move a little away from narcissistic attitudes towards an attitude of servitude. Appreciation for the day ahead. So what are the things that you can be grateful for? We talked last time about some gratitude. And by the way, kind of recapping, there's going to be some of these activities that are going to tap on the 4 different pillars. They tap on the physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. Okay, so what do you have to be thankful for, and what are you looking forward the next day? Celebrating micro achievements. What are the things that you can celebrate that are, even though it may look small, but are important? We're talking about daily gratitude as a practice, and we talked about the research last time about all the impact that daily gratitude may have. Daily laughter practice. We appreciate sometimes the power that laughter has. That's why I have a lot of respect for the work that Hollywood does on that end, because thanks to a lot of those shows, we were able to cope during COVID time, or we're able to laugh within the creativity of those writers and those actors. So I'm extremely grateful for that. Digital detox moments. What are we doing to detox? We talked about last time. And by the way, a lot of the things I'm a work in progress. I'm still working on all of these things. Okay, but it's important to be aware. And for example, my iPhone tells me on Sundays, okay, you've spent 8 hours in watching the screen. Now, I do a lot of my work to the iPhone, so that's something that to keep in mind, right? Emotional check-ins. How am I feeling? We somehow, especially my particular culture, the Latino culture, we're extremely emotional. That's what we always feel sometimes that we're living a novella, a soap opera, right? And we tend to be super reactive. And then sometimes we apologize when we do those things, and so it's okay to feel emotions, right? To check in emotion. Anger. But one of the things that Mel Robbins talk about that is that if you check that emotion and you try to see it from an impartial point of view instead of a personal point of view, then you may actually you could be able to move away from that emotion within 90 seconds instead of trying to suppress it. So that's a very important. Pause periodically to ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? So that's something that few people does. Okay, kind of reflecting on that, right? Emotional release activities. What type of physical activities or creative outlets, hobbies that you can have that can release your emotion? Writing, painting, hiking. Engaging in creative activities, creativity, right side of the brain, right? How can I stimulate that systematically? Again, this is not a one-time thing. Evening reflection and letting go. How can not only reflect at night as a routine, but how can I let go of things that are not in my control? Honestly, I stopped watching the news systematically 10 years ago. Doesn't mean that I live in a complete bubble, because in Twitter, sometimes you're on social media trying to post something, you're gonna see things, okay? You're gonna see news. But the reason why I stopped watching the news is, for the most part, news are negative, and negativity have a negative impact on the way that you approach life. But most importantly, because a lot of things in the news are out of my control. And honestly, when I stopped watching news systematically, my life improved, my productivity increased. Okay, so letting go of the things that I cannot control. Okay, as a newborn Christian, one of the things that it was hard for people like me who are overachievers is relinquishing control to God. So expressing appreciation. How many times have you expressed appreciation to your family members, to your co-workers, to your friends, for their existence and their impact in your life? Gratitude walks. Combine physical activities with gratitude by taking a walk and reflecting on things you appreciate. And one thing that I start doing, for example, is recording my voice with, worship music on things that I'm grateful for, and I listen to it, every day. Journaling to process emotions. I start journaling. Teresa Bala, the pastor, she taught me that, so I started writing not only my goals but also my emotions, and a lot of my books, they have some of that, right, where I can put my emotions there. Mindful breathing exercises. We talk about breathing. Most of us don't breathe right, and that is preventing our health and affecting our health in general. Mindful media consumption. What are you letting inside your head that can affect your emotions unconsciously? A lot of times we don't realize it, but it's affecting us. Mirror work for emotional empowerment. Spend a few moments each day looking in the mirror and speaking kindly to yourself. We're extremely harsh on ourselves. We tend to say things that are not nice, verbally or actually mentally. So when our brains start talking bad about us, we need to actually, like a crazy person, start saying, I'm awesome, I'm great, I'm grateful. In my particular case, I say I'm highly favored of God, etc., etc. Nature connection and grounding. We talk about the impact of walking in nature and the energy that provides. And nurturing relationships. What are the relations that are impacting positively our life? Positive affirmations, practicing emotional boundaries. That's super important. Some people are going to try to control us through guilt. So how can we put those barriers? Doesn't mean ice cold, icing a relation completely, but how can I put those? And I highly recommend you to read that book from Mel Robbins, Let Them. Regular physical activities, savoring daily joys, self-compassion breaks. Sometimes you need to take a break, and that's not a sign of weakness, that's a sign of strength, actually. Where I need to stop feeling guilty. In Latino culture, one of the worst things that you can tell somebody is that you're lazy, and so I need to start feeling guilty for taking breaks sometimes for emotional health. Stretching and body awareness, visualization of goal and positivity. So this is some of the routine. Homework for the next 2 weeks. Establishing a foundation next 2 weeks. Track your emotional landscape. How are you feeling? Ask yourself periodically, how am I feeling in this particular moment, instead of reacting. Incorporate science-backed emotional practices. Gratitude practice. List 3 things you're grateful for daily. And avoid emotional overload. Things that can emotionally impact you, try to avoid it in a negative way, and actually try to understand your emotion. I really believe if you do these routines combined with the other things that we have talked about, you're going to increase your emotional intelligence, and you're going to have more control of your life. So looking forward to see you next time. Excited to continue this conversation. We can do this together. Let's go.